So the question is, why now? Leaders are saying productivity, mentorship, culture, but the reality is they're also sitting on expensive office space that is empty 40 to 60% of the time. And the reality that is that the biggest owners of this office real estate in Canada is pension funds. An article came out in the Globe and Mail last year that said headwinds for commercial real estate could have a dire impact on pension plan holders. If you really want to get an understanding for what that looks like, look no further than the CPPIB's $1 office tower deal in New York City. Canada's largest pension fund started taking steps to limit exposure to its most beleaguered property type, according to the Financial Post. And that property type, office buildings. No, I don't want to get too into the politics of it, but obviously we've seen a lot of increases in crime, in issues on public transit, and a lot of things of that nature in urban areas, especially in downtowns where we weren't seeing that before. You had this safer space in the downtowns. I think like a US city like Chicago is a very good example where, you know, enforcement is pretty strong in the downtown area where people are trying to go to work. There's a lot of people in suits. It's not an environment that is an exceptionally good fit for some of the crazier stuff that goes on in society. And outside of that downtown core, everything gets pushed there and the enforcement is a lot lower. We've really seen a blending together of those two worlds in the last little bit. And all you really need to do is spend a bit of time downtown in most Canadian cities to get a clear understanding for that. You hear about this a lot in context of US markets, but even in some Canadian commentary, you hear about the downtown cores getting hollowed out. And I was of the opinion that they weren't just going to let this go forever. I think that the hybrid work model was one of those things that employers really lost the negotiating power or leverage against workers because Canada had this labor shortage, right? And employees were the scarce asset for most of the last 5-year period, which meant that employees could really resist this idea of return to office. But that's changing. We're at a point where hiring is down, job openings are down, layoffs are rising, unemployment is rising. And so firms, the employers, are in a much better position to negotiate. And I truly feel that they were probably waiting for the labor market to get to the point where it is now before they really started to put this big push on. And there's a lot of theories as to whether or not there's actually further motivation on this, with a lot of people calling the return to office mandates a stealth layoff tool for big firms.